as I start a business? What things should I pay attention to? What are the areas that are key for me to consider? And where should I put my focus? And why this is important? It's important because many times you can be excited about starting a business. You might even have identified a great business opportunity. But the truth is, you can't be able to act as someone who is in business would. Why? Because of the many things which surround the realities of the business that you're starting. So, we are going to run through a couple of ideas of what exactly should I consider if I want to turn my idea into action. What should I consider? What should I pay attention to if I want to get my business on the road? And even those of us who are in business, what should I pay attention to as I run my business? What is the key thing I should pay? What are the key things we should pay attention to? Now, they could be different for different businesses, but generally, I'm going to just highlight for you a couple of broad areas that we need to pay attention to as we run our businesses. Now, there are fundamentally five areas that I'm going to speak about today. And these five areas, I have just categorized them in those categories. I'm going to talk about you, the entrepreneur, the person who starts the business. What should you pay attention to? How do you get to action? What kind of mindset should you have if you are to get to action? I'm going to talk about the customer and the important role that the customer plays in every business. Why is the customer central to a successful business? And why is it that when you do not pay attention to the customer, in spite of a business which you have, the truth is that it may disappear. Then we also pay attention to employees and the important role the team you work with plays. Even as you start, you may have to recruit your younger brother. You may have to recruit your cousin. You may have started a business as simple as saying, you know what, I've decided to make juice. The day you say, I'm going to run a juice business, you quickly notice that actually, usually the first person you recruit may be one of your family members who you live with in your home. And you say, you know what? I have recruited you to help me squeeze the juice. But that on that day when you recruit them, that turns them into an employee. How do you get the best value out of them? How do you keep them motivated? We're going to talk about that. Then we'll talk about operations and systems. And really here, what we are going to say is how do we make sure that the machine keeps running? And finally, we'll talk about finances and how we keep our finances in order. So that's generally what we are going to run through today. Allow me to start with the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur is a critical part of any business which is being started. We call him the campfire. Friends, when you set out to say, I'm going to start a business, chances are very high that all of us who you tell, we will not believe you. Even though we are your parents, will not believe you. Every business needs someone who sees that thing before it is actually done. They see it, they envision it, and then they see it, and then they bring it to life. That person is critical. And it's critical to understand that as an entrepreneur, you are the engine of the business. You are the one who keeps people inspired, who keeps people motivated. Now, if you yourself, you are giving up on your own dream, on your own aspiration, chances are all of us who work with you, we will join you in giving up. We'll certainly join you. So the question there is, where is the self-belief? Friends, the journey of turning an idea into action is a journey of saying, you know what, in spite of what everyone is saying, I am going to go ahead and get this done. That's what's happening. And the fact that that's what's happening means that each and every one of us has to step back and say, am I willing to fight for this idea that I have? Am I willing to fight? You may come to us and say, you know what, guys, I've seen the opportunities that we have here. I've decided that I am going to start manufacturing something locally, which is being imported. The first thing we'll tell you is how impossible it is. So you need self-belief. Why you need self-belief is because it is what keeps you going against all the things we have told you. Because we will tell you many things. We'll be quick to tell you why this is not a very good idea. And many people stop at that point. They can't be able to cross over. Quite honestly, friends, most of our ideas don't even see the light of day. They don't. The reason why they don't see the light of day is quite simple. Because at some point we also lose faith in our own ideas. Sometimes you need to go for 13 years, for 20 years, for that thing which you see to come to life. But that said, that doesn't at all mean that it will be easy. It's going to take discipline and perseverance. You're going to have to keep pushing, to keep pushing, to keep pushing. And friends, those of you on the call, you need to understand, majority of us haven't started business. You need to understand that business is not simpler than employment. It's not. If you think you're having a tough time at your employer, business will even be tougher. The reason is very simple. At least when you are using an employer, you have one boss. When you're running business, you may have all your customers as bosses. We'll talk about them in a moment. And that means that it's a tough, tough journey. It's a journey which needs perseverance, which needs commitment, which needs a real sense of resilience, so that you can be able to get to get that business off the ground. So friends, your business needs you. It needs you. And it's in such a big way. And for those of us who are already in business, you need to outlive past glories and failures quickly. One of the challenges we have is that some of us, the glories and the successes we're celebrating happened 10 years ago. But to this day, we are celebrating them as though they happened yesterday. So you need to outlive the past glories. Why? Because your business won't be able to move if you are comfortable. You, the entrepreneur, you need to actually feel a sense of discomfort, a sense of urgency, if you are to be able to deliver a win in your business. You have to have courage. Then you, the entrepreneur, you need to keep learning. You need to keep learning and be passionate about that learning. You can't delegate learning. Learning is for you. So there is a real sense of sacrifice. It's critical, it's important. You have to sacrifice. Friends, Every successful story you see in this country, written all over it is sacrifice, is perseverance, it's clarity of purpose. And you need to be able to do the same. So as you evaluate, how do I turn this idea into action? You need to look in the mirror, because the only person who can be able to bring that idea to life is you. If you don't believe in your idea enough, it is impossible for us who are watching you to believe in it. It's your job to believe in it. It's your job to push it. It's your job to say, I'm going to keep, I'm going to keep, I'm going to keep stepping in and stepping in and stepping in and stepping in until I get over the line. So friends, the first idea that I really want us to appreciate is that to turn an idea into action, you need to first look at who is going to do it. The entrepreneur has to understand that the buck falls with him. There is no other person who is coming. For most entrepreneurs, there is no board. You are the one who can be able to deliver those numbers. And since you're the one who can be able to deliver those numbers, you need to understand your role in this journey of creating a business. That you are the one who sets the tone that the rest of us will follow. If the tone is wrong, the business cannot work. Actually, if you, the entrepreneur, you start losing energy, you start getting tired to go to the workplace, you start um, struggling to 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 do the things which you're supposed to do as an entrepreneur, the business inevitably has to go. And all of you on the call know that actually you have seen these businesses. They appear strong, they appear good, but after a while, the business disappears. So the first idea is you have to pay attention to the entrepreneur. Why do you pay attention to the entrepreneur? Because when you do that, you have given the business the strength it needs to be able to move. So I hope that is clear. Let's go to the second one. The second bit you need to pay attention to is the customer. Friends, some of us have ideas, and those ideas don't have customers. If you're starting out, you're talking about a new customer. If you're running, you are talking about the existing and the forgotten customer, and even new customers for those of you who are running. But you need to understand that as an entrepreneur, am I dealing with what the customer is looking for? Is the customer happy? And how do I keep the customer happy? How do I keep the customer happy? I want to share this from the perspective of the kinds of customers you can have. I'll start with the new customer. Getting in a new customer is a challenging thing. But you need to ask yourself, how does my idea take away this customer's pain point? How does my idea make the customer more comfortable? How does my idea make the customer feel like they have got a solution? So you have to understand, who are you currently serving? Friends, any idea you're talking about, you need to ask, who is my customer? Some of us are more clear about the product we are selling than who is supposed to buy it. or the service we are selling, and who is supposed to buy it. You say, you know what, I've started a consultancy, and my consultancy is going to offer marriage counseling. That sounds good, but who exactly is your customer? Who is willing to pay for that service? The problems exist in marriage, but are they usually solved by a paid counselor? Possibly, possibly not. So you need to interest yourself. How do I get a new customer? Then you need to ask yourself, what about my existing customer? Those of you, especially those of you in business, one of your most important customers is the customer you have already gotten. Most of us, we are more interested in the new customer than we are in the old one. The old customer will give you referrals. He will tell people about you. Is your customer excited to tell people about you? Is your customer excited? We have been invited by the team at St. Mark Namagob. Are you who went through the school, do you still talk about it? And if you do, that means it's a good sign. It means that St. Mark has taken care of the customer, because even customers who leave are saying that place is loved. So friends, there is something powerful about understanding that the existing customer, you need to qualify for them every day. The customer may look the same, may put on the same shirt, but the customer has changed. Their taste has changed a bit. Their taste has changed a bit. They are no longer exactly, and you need to say, have I qualified for the customer today? The fact that you have a powerful track record does not mean that you will serve the customer well today. Because you could give the customer the same thing and say, no, that's not what I wanted. So you have to give more value every time. Friends, preoccupy yourself with giving value to your customer. If you give value to your customer will inevitably talk about you. But I know that the customer finds it difficult to talk about things which you are bad at, that when the ones you're good at. But whenever a customer says, this guy was the photographer on my wedding and he was amazing, you need him on your wedding. Let him be your wedding. The moment a customer says that, they have made a sale for you and you're not even in the room. You just receive a call from someone who says, oh, yes, how are you? I heard about you from this guy. Could you please come and deliver the same service to me? They told me you did an amazing job. Who is calling? Who is calling? That's your question. Who is calling on your behalf? And then there is the forgotten customer. The one who stopped buying from you, but you also forgot that he stopped buying from you. Is there something you did wrong that you need to apologize for? How do you reactivate this relationship? Friends, when you look at these three customers, they possibly entail the majority of customers. And what we are saying in this conversation today is that each and every one of us has a responsibility to evaluate ourselves. Have I kept the customer happy? Is my customer happy? Because if the customer is unhappy, it will show. It will show in your sales. It will show in the fact that that people don't speak well of you, but an unhappy customer can't be hidden. An unhappy customer doesn't hide themselves. They will speak out very boldly and very seriously. And they might even make other people who are your customers walk away from you because of what you did to this specific customer. So, what we have here is number two, you have to keep the customer happy. If the customer is happy, all ideas will be acted on. If the customer is unhappy, it will show. Number three, keep your employees motivated. Friends, allow me to submit to you that the employee is your internal customer. They're your internal customer. And that employee is the one who is at the front line of your ship. And there is no idea you have in your business, even one you have just started. And you've said, I've recruited my cousin who I was with at home. I've started a juice making business. That customer who is at home now becomes an internal customer. Are they motivated? They are the people who determine how that external customer is going to be treated. They're the ones. You are not going to be present everywhere. But when they are well treated, they will make sure they attract more external customers. They're kind of our lasting and only lasting competitive edge. And you need to understand that staff are never neutral. They either add value or they destroy value. So be very careful when someone says, oh, that one, we just have him here. He doesn't do anything specific, but he's here. No. Be worried. Why do you need to be worried? You need to be worried because a staff always adds value or destroys value. And you need to understand that a staff changes. Staff might have been good at one point, but at a certain point, they totally lose it. So staff change over time. Have you also kept up with that change? And you need to understand that it is the only asset you don't control for most of the day. The staff is with you for 8 hours, but is with someone else for the rest of the time. And if a staff is unhappy, he will talk about you in those 16 hours. So friends, I want to give a couple of tips here. And there are two. Tip number one, always pay your staff on time. Pay them promptly. Always pay your staff on time. And secondly, make sure that you let go of those who are not contributing. If you have a staff in your team who is not doing a good job, release them and release them quickly. Because your ideas will remain as only ideas if the people who are supposed to act are not doing their job, and that's the staff. They're the ones who are at the front line. So let them go if they are not contributing. And make sure you do that quickly. Some of us keep staff for very long, yet their value has already expired. So let's move on to the third. That was the third. Let me move on to the fourth. The fourth is something which is very complex. Many of us, when we get a business idea, there's excitement. There's a warmth which you have. You want to get it done. but you do not look after your operations. You don't pay attention to the systems you're using. You don't pay attention to small minor details. If I say I have started a tailoring business, I've started a tailoring business, the business I've started. How do I how do I create a system where actually I can be able to promise my customer address in 3 days and I get it? What system is around that? Is it efficient? Is it effective? I'll come to you running a tailoring business. You tell me I will deliver the dress in 5 days. But show me the system. What happens on day one? What happens on day two? What happens on day three? What happens on day four? Is there some lead time in case things don't work as planned? Friends, you need to understand that some of us are fascinated by our business ideas, but unless you build a system around them, operations around them, they won't come to life. Some of us ideas can only remain on paper. They don't have the capacity to transform into real actions. Why? There is no system that has been built. One of the biggest challenges of the local entrepreneur is the fact that we pay a lot of attention to the idea. Sometimes we pay a lot of attention to the customer, but we don't pay attention to the system, the operations. How do you prepare some kind of process that you have to follow? I mean, in basic things, you take on a job as a decorator. When do you start setting up? When do you start setting up? So that you can be able to be ready. We've been at functions, and actually the Mugole is entering, but the decorator is still decorating. It is a sign that the system doesn't exist. A system which says, for me to be able to deliver, to have completed the decoration by midday on the wedding day, I need to have started at 1 a.m. or I will need to have started in the morning at 6 a.m. of the day before. And these are the things I have to follow. So my point here is quite simple. If you don't have systems, if you don't have operations, you are running what I call, you just allow the business to flow the way it can. And many of our businesses, that's why they're outcompeted. Friends, pay attention to the detail in your business. Pay attention to the detail. You go to a school, for example. For a school has a timetable. The timetable says lunch is at 1 o'clock. There has to be a strong system which ensures that the kitchen has finished cooking the food at exactly 1:45, so that the students can be served at exactly 1. But you find many of our businesses, quite honestly, at 1 o'clock, the food is not ready. So let's just keep going. So what happens to the timetable? What happens to the teacher who has to come in at 2? The machine needs to be well oiled so that it's working effectively. So friends, this little piece is possibly one of the major reasons why many of our businesses don't take off. They don't take off because actually there is no backup system. on which they are seated. The idea is brilliant, but there is no system. So I challenge you is listening. Show me. And people keep it simple. They say, oh, you know what? I have this brilliant idea. I think I am going to start doing podcasts. Podcasts are good, but there is a process. When do you finish the script? When do you invite the person you're going to speak to? How much time do you need to ensure that you prepare? How do you set up the place you're going to do the podcast? How do you ensure that the equipment are in place? And for us who watch your product or your service, when we watch your podcast, we don't know what went in for it to be delivered. But what we can tell you is that we know there is a lot of things you have to do so that you deliver just a 15-minute podcast. I mean, when you even think about this alumni engagement that we have every month, there is a process. There's a process which needs to exist so that we can be able to get to a point where actually it happens on this day at 7 a.m. If the systems are not there, the idea can't come to life. And finally, I want to talk about finances. Friends, if you do not keep your finances in order, your idea won't come to life. Finance is the lifeblood of any business. So ask yourself, have I kept my finances in order? If you have people who have lent you money, are they happy? Are they happy? Or are they running against you, after you? Friends, if you are serious a bit about business, you will one of these days have to engage with a bank. You don't even have to be borrowing there, but you will engage with a bank. And if you're engaging with a bank, do you have a good relationship with them? Do you have a good relationship with them? Is the bank excited about you? Or is the bank avoiding you? Is the bank running away from you? Or are you running away from the bank? You need to understand. Yesterday we had a training here at Enterprise Uganda. It's going on today again. And one of the things we discussed is how can you be in business and you receive all your money in cash? In the advent of digital systems, you have Momo, you have Airtel Pay. Are you engaging? Do you have a good relationship with your banker? And I'll give you a tip here. If you need to understand that bankers only respond to action. They don't respond to ideas. You don't take a business plan to the bank at idea stage. They'll tell you, I like the idea, it's good, but you go and start. Bankers respond to action. When you start a nursery school and a banker comes and sees that you have 3 children, the banker says, this one is different. He has started. But when you go with a big document talking about your nursery school that is going to have 300 students, 500 students, but there is none, the banker will send you away. In other countries, actually, bankers may claim that, but no, not here. Here, bankers respond only to action. Things need to be done. They need to be tested and we need to act on them. So I want to close with a couple of traps you need to manage with, especially from finances. Trap number one is what we call self-gratification. This is when you congratulate yourself so quickly. Friends, some of us, our ideas take off and we act on them. But the first money we get, we congratulate ourselves. Sometimes in small ways, sometimes in big ways. But watch out. Have you fallen in that trap? Have you separated yourself from your business? Business finances should be a safe distance away from personal finances. And let me tell you, friends, how you know you are not separated from your business is where the business money is and where the personal money is. If your business account is the same as your personal account, it's a sign. Friends, you can't remember the supplier you haven't paid. You can't remember the supplier you haven't paid. If you have money on the account and your child is sick, so you need to make sure that you separate yourself from the business. Sometimes the business has money, but you don't. The business may have money, but its suppliers' money, its employees' money, you have to pay salaries. It's umeme money. Sometimes it's URA money. So you need to separate yourself from the business. Lastly, I would say that loan is a double-edged sword. It cuts either way. It can make you or it can break you. So be very careful with debt. There is no business that has been buried where at its value you don't find a financer. They are there, they are front row. Every business that collapses, usually there's a bit of debt in it. Debt, when well managed, is a powerful tool. But the question you need to ask, am I managing it well? Am I managing it well? I keep telling people, if you can't save, then don't take debt. You can't discipline yourself to save with your own money. How do you think you'll discipline yourself with someone else's money, which they have lent you? So you have to look at your own discipline before you attempt, before you cross over and say, I'm going to take someone else's money and be disciplined with it. So my final submission to you is that when you think about this idea to action, there are a couple of things you need to pay attention to. I've given you 5 here. There could be more, but pay attention to those 5. And if you do, chances are high the business will be able to start. Thank you so much. I'll stop there for now and we get into a Q&A. Have am I unmuted? Okay, super. Yeah, we have just a few minutes left. Let me see. We have a question. We have a couple of questions here from Ronald. Ronald Migade. You can hear me? Yes. So Ronald Migade asks, is there anything like a difficult customer? And if true, how should difficult customers be handled? Yes, Ronald, there is something as a difficult customer. And you need to understand that, by the way, all customers can become difficult. It just means sometimes it takes how much do you need to push them for them to become difficult. Some customers are just difficult. They want to quarrel about everything. They exist. Some customers, if you treat them poorly, they will become difficult customers. You promised a customer that you will deliver on Monday at 10. They call you at 11, you say, I'll deliver at 2. They call you at 2, you say, I'll deliver at 4. By 6 o'clock, that customer may turn into a difficult customer. So, how do we deal with difficult customers? The first thing, and one of the most important things, is to understand what exactly is disturbing this customer. Because sometimes it's a communication challenge. The customer is being difficult because you haven't understood each other. They haven't understood you, and you haven't understood them. So some customers become difficult because of communication. And that means that what you need to do is, how do I clear the communication channels so that we understand what we are saying to each other? And one of the things you can do practically as a business owner is to listen. Not to speak, but to listen. If you listen well, sometimes you can be able to understand what the customer is saying. Most of us, we don't listen very well. But when we listen well, we can understand what the customer is saying. Two, you need to ask yourself, do I want to use this situation as a way of parting with this customer? Or do I want to overcome this situation and keep this customer? It's a very important thing, because you can respond to a customer in such a way that you are ending the relationship. So being respectful, being calm is very important on your part, because sometimes the customer will be doing something where you are right. But because you are calm and respectful, it when the customer comes down, they say, actually, I think Ronald treated me fairly. They could even come and apologize. But if the customer shoots at you and you shoot back with even heavier words, chances are very high that you lose that customer. So do you want to keep the customer, or do you want to lose them? Number two, you said, is there a business where the customer nga yalina okweguya, the service provider? Friends, Ronald's question is an interesting one. Sometimes actually you have a temporary monopoly. A place is just upcoming. You are the only one with a hardware with iron bars. Friends, when you have that moment, and it could be a year or two, when you are the only hardware in that location, what you need to do is very simple. You need to ensure that you use that moment to make all your customers loyal to you. So don't charge them exorbitant profits because you are the only person who is playing in the game. Because every business, that market will be entered. It may take 3 years, may take 5 years, but will be entered. Some of you may remember the very first, when we had just got mobile phones. And one of the first companies which came charged the customers exorbitantly. You had to pay for airtime, you had to pay service fee. Generally, just being on the network, you needed to pay for being on the network, whether you are calling or you are not calling. And they made lots of money in a short period of time. But later, other service providers came. MTN came. And they took away all those things. And I can tell you that company, which was the first to enter the market, is no longer the leader in the market. It disappeared. And I believe one of the reasons why it disappeared is that it had the moment of being the only Gatubeguya. It had the moment of being the only business in the game, but it didn't use that opportunity to consolidate and endear us. If it had treated the customers fairly, if it hadn't charged them so highly, chances are they would say, even though someone you can say, this one understands us. But there is a very big temptation when you are the monopoly to maximize on profit, even to a point when you are cheating your customers. So ask yourself, am I going to use that opportunity of being as a monopoly? Am I going to use it for my benefit? Or am I going to do it in such a way that actually my customers believe in me and they get endeared to me and they become loyal to me? Eric asks, are there situations where the customer needs to be sacrificed for the betterment of the business? Eric, there are cases where this is true. Sometimes you have a customer who is not yours. He's not your customer. He's someone else's customer. And you should respectfully tell them, you are not my customer. And it's okay to point them to someone else. You are a service provider. You provide food at weddings. But your plate of food, which you provide, is 50,000 shillings. You pitch it in a certain way. You design it in a certain way. You present it in a certain way. A customer comes and says he has 15,000. You might have to sacrifice that one and release him. And you say, it's not in a bad spirit, but you are not my customer. And say, there's someone I know who can do the food at that price. And they understand that customer well. Friends, not everyone is your customer. You need to ask yourself, who is mine? Who is mine? And when you know who your customer is, it allows you to concentrate and serve them well. They will see the value. What do I do as an employer to help motivate staff? We cannot keep motivating adults who are looking for jobs and cannot motivate themselves. Cannot keep motivating adults who come looking for jobs but cannot motivate themselves. Godfrey, I want to agree with you. In the current workplace, the responsibility of getting motivated falls on the individual themselves, you, the employee. And I agree, you have to. But I think, Godfrey, one of the things you can do to motivate staff is to set out very clearly where you are going. And you set out very clearly the rewards you will give to those people who do what needs to be done to get there, and to make sure that you are fair. One of the things which demotivates staff most is when they see unfairness in an organization. If we are employed, your son is employed in the same business. I am employed in the same business. I brought in sales last year of 1 billion. Your son brought in sales of 100 million. Why is your son driving the company car? I am your top salesman. I am the one who should be driving the company car. And when I drive the company car, I will know I am driving it because of the sales I brought in. One of the things you can do as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, is ensure that you are just and you are fair. And keep your word. If you tell someone that if this happens, this is the reward you get, give it. And if you say, if this happens, this is the punishment you will get, you make sure you deliver on it across the board. And Geoffrey, there's nothing wrong with releasing a staff. Sometimes you take too long to fire people. Some people need to be fired and fired quickly. And as a business owner, you need to see someone and say, this one, I need to release him. He's not delivering. There is no amount of motivation which will get them to do what they need to do. So you release them. You release them and you do it quickly. Some people are in the wrong place. They are not supposed to be in that organization, in that company, but they are there. And the reason they are there is you, the business leader, you have failed to make the tough decision to release them. How do we balance business growth versus employee motivation and timely payment? Eric, this is a good question. I think I want to start with the last one. One of the things you need to commit as an entrepreneur is to ensure that you always pay your staff on time. In this country, there are few things more motivating than receiving your salary on time. There are so many employees who are uncertain about the salaries they will receive. They don't know when they will get it. And it causes instability. The employee comes, you said you'll pay on 25th. 25th reaches, you don't pay. Then after 25th has reached, you get onto um you get onto the next month. Halfway the month you haven't paid. Make sure the payments are timely. They may be small, but make sure they are timely. It's a very important piece. And you need to understand that your employee is not a business owner. For him, he is there to work for a paycheck. And they want the paycheck. When you promise them a salary on 25, on 25th, they go to their landlord and make the same promise. When you break your word, they have to break their word to the landlord. And the landlord has to break their word to the plumber who came to repair. Because he also promised him money when he gets the rent. And the cycle continues. So you make sure you pay on time. One of the ways you can balance employee growth, business growth, and employee motivation is tie business growth to employee motivation. You tell the employees that if we do business of this much, this is your benefit in it. We sell 500 million this month. 5% is on you, is yours. You share as the employees. And people will say, actually, the growth is not for the business owner, the growth is for me. Because when we grow, I also benefit. Time has run out. Let me just straight run through the last two questions. At what time, at what point do you let the customer go? Is it okay to let them go, especially the recurring customer? Mimi, thanks for this question. I think it depends. But one of the signs that the customer should go is when you feel that the value you give is not the value the customer needs. The value you give is not the value the customer needs. I gave an example earlier of a chef who makes meals at functions. There are people who are very particular about the plates which will be used for a function. They want clean plates. And yet, there are people who don't care. Whether the plates are stained and old, it's fine. As long as the food is there and hot, we will eat it. Now, if your customer does not understand that the reason why they pay 50,000 is because because you want to make sure you maintain a clean plate. You want to make sure that you maintain a good display of the fruits. If they don't do that, it's okay. You need to understand that the value you are giving is not the value the customer is looking for. And you can let them go, and you can do it respectfully. You can do it respectfully. The customer will know that, you know what, he did not, it's just that we are not, at the time may come when you meet parts, which is fine, but this is not the time. So you need to understand that at a certain point, you need to say, is the value I'm giving the value which the customer is looking for? Let me finish with Pius. Pius says, I request for a market client before delivery. I think one of the things which can make a client pay before delivery, one is you need to ask yourself, what model have I put out there? Some of you noticed that Umeme changed its model. We used to pay bills at the end of the month. Umeme said, no, I'll give you a prepaid meter. And the meter which I'll give you, you'll be able to pay and then you use, and when it gets finished, you pay again. There was a bit of investment in there, but they understood that they need to change the model. So if you are, I don't know what Pius you supply. I wish I knew what exact service you offer. But if you say that, you know what, I supply snacks to the school canteen, that you may find that actually the school canteen is not going to put their capital into your business. They only tell you that I will sell and then I'll give you money. So that means the model can't change in that circumstance. But if you say that, you know what, I am a videographer on weddings, then the model can change. You can say, you know what, these are my terms. When first booking, you book with 50%. 1 week to the event, you pay 30%. 2 days to the event, you pay 20%. Have you clearly put that out for me? I need to prepare you because I know that that's how you do business. And some customers will fight back. But when we find out that's how you do business and you deliver, because the biggest challenge of why people struggle with prepayment is because they prepare, then people don't actually do what they promised to do, or they do a lousy job. So for you to be able to say, people prepare me, they need to know that they will always get what they have paid for. They will always get what they have paid for. I'll stop there for now and hand back to the moderation team. Thank you so much. It's been an honor. Thanks for the invitation, and I hope we can be able to keep growing our businesses, keep getting things better, and keep pushing to always make sure that the customer is happier, the employee is happier, and as an entrepreneur, you can be able to get a bit more out of your business. Thank you so much. Stay blessed.
Dear Ronald, I want to take this opportunity to thank you immensely for that wonderful presentation. Thank you so much. Our time is fast spent. I know it is a really interesting topic. Many of us would want to learn more and more. And I would also want to encourage all of us, those who want to learn more, there are always short courses at Enterprise Uganda at a very, very friendly price. If you want to grow your business, if you want to have a mindset shift, it is the place to be, Enterprise Uganda. Ronald, I want to thank you so much once again. And I also was told that you can have tailor-made courses. They are very good coaches at Enterprise Uganda. You can always engage. And for us at St. Mark, we've made good use of Ronald and also the team at Enterprise Uganda. So at this point in time, we're going to have a closing prayer. You have a nugget or two, kindly run with it and also share it with somebody else so that we can be able to have a bigger family of people who have turned their ideas and into action and into great businesses. It's the end of month, and I want to wish you the very best. And I want to also let you know that we shall be together in March, the last Thursday of the month. We shall be sharing with you the topic. I want to thank you, all of you who have been able to come and join us this morning, but please share your knowledge with other people. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, I want to thank you so much for this morning. I want to thank you so much for the way you've equipped and empowered Ronald to come and share with us this morning on the nuggets of turning our ideas into action, into great businesses. We know that each one of here has walked away with a nugget or two. We want to pray that it will become into a reality for each one of us. And also want to pray that you bless the work of our hands and establish the work of our hands, Lord. We continue to pray that you will grow our knowledge. We continue to pray that you will grow our wisdom. And we should continue to pray that we shall grow our understanding to have clarity of how best we can work it out for ourselves to the glory of your name. We want to commit this day. We want to pray that you be with us, that you will guide us and guide us from all the wiles of the enemy. We continue to commit the fraternity of the Alumni Empowerment into your hands, Lord, that even as we engage on it every month, may we grow into great people that you intended us to be from the beginning. We give you glory and honor. In Jesus' name we pray and trust.
Amen.
We wish you a blessed day, and we know we shall be together next month at the last Thursday. God bless you and have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bless you too.
Bless you.